Yo, yo, yo. What it do, Chicken Stew family? It's the Copper Colored King. We back in this bad boy with some more good content, man. And just to make it quick, short, and sweet for y'all, we're gonna jump into the history of this transatlantic slave trade nonsense for a little while. Just to touch bases on the fabricated story that has been delivered upon us as Black Americans. Right? They have told us for so long that Black people in America, because we're Black, we come from Africa, aka the land of the Blacks, as coined and deemed by these colonizing Europeans. We're going to challenge that theory today. Right? They lied about them transatlantic slave trade numbers. What they put in them textbooks is just not it. It's the farthest thing from the truth. Right? And we pulled up some documentation that further supports this theory, that supports what I'm saying to y'all right now. And as a matter of fact, and you guys can like, comment, and subscribe, my niggies, I have this idea that I've been pondering on for some time. And this idea, it consists of a story of displacement and replacement. What I mean by this is that I believe that we have a huge population of American Indians that were sent out of America to make room for these new populations of people that we know now today as African Americans and Native Americans. I believe that a lot of the numbers were fabricated to further support that story so that we can believe that we are subgroups of a main group, right? African Americans, Native Americans, subgroups of a main group. This main group being the true people of the land, the true Amarukans, the true Copper Coloreds. So before we even get into that documentation, right? Before we even dive into that stuff, I want to play this video real quick, right? New Yorkers put emphasis on everything. This conversation had me rolling. I ain't even gonna lie, because the old heads love using the word mathematics. Check the mathematics. The mathematics tell you this, that, and the third. The sun raised above the earth and blah, blah, blah. They be going crazy with it. I ain't even going front. But OG was spitting. Right? You got to think about it. They told us hundreds and thousands, almost millions of Africans came here to the Americas as slaves. But do you know how many slave ships, how much provisions, how much money it would have took a lot of these people to do so? People don't even know, right? There were Europeans coming here as indentured slaves and slaves both to the Americas at the start. No Africans. That didn't happen. The way we think, right? The way we think. I'm not going to say it didn't happen at all, because it happened, but in very small numbers. Now let's check the video out now.
To here, and let's say he got 200 on the ship. 200 times the 30 days plus supplies. How many ships would he need to bring 100 million niggas over here to North America?
All right, I believe.
How many ships would these mother lovers need to bring 100 million niggies over here to North America? Got to think about it.
I actually
Do the mathematics.
Yeah.
Do the mathematics.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if we did the mathematics, there's no way that story can fan out.
He's a 5%.
Two, black people have always been in North America. There has never been a time when the black man was not on the shores of North America.
Okay. Now, who are you calling the black man on the shores of North America? Who particularly?
Who am I
Nidji
calling?
me.
Hey, Reggie, I know you didn't.
Reggie?
Me.
Me.
Okay. No, we're talking about at the time.
What up, y'all? And I had to touch bases on this one on TikTok too myself. Make sure y'all go follow me on TikTok, Copper Color Cultures, if you want to see more videos like this short one right here. Who was he talking about? Me, Niji. So we gotta debunk this stuff real quick, right? So we are on the Slave Voyages website.org, right? This is their website, published by them, created by the, you know, these people who collect these records and whatever the case may be. Now, I've been traveling through this source for some time and things been changing, but I got a verified source for me right here on TikTok. I'm gonna play the video after we go through this, just to show y'all what kind of information we would be looking for and exactly what was displayed on this website. They give us the facts, straight Apple facts. Now, what you want to do is when you get to the Slave Voyages website, you have 4 options right here: Voyages, People, Time Lapse, and Learn More. You want to go to People, right? And when you go to People, they give us 2 options: Enslavers and Enslaved. And let's make note, they expanded to include information from other sources such as the National Archives and Records Administration. That is where you can go to find a lot of ancestral records, slave records, right? Transmissions, like so many different things that pertain to slavery in America. You could go up there and find the slave master that had your family in bondage if this is the case. So we're not gonna go look at enslavers, right? We're gonna click on enslaved. Now at total, we got 90,600 people that was enslaved in Africa and quote unquote brought over here to the Americas, quote unquote. 90,000. That's what these records is telling us in the transatlantic slave trade. What we want to do is kind of filter out this information to show us exactly how many people came from Africa to mainland North America. So what you want to do, first, click all enslaved people. Second, no matter of fact, we're going to stand on the African origins and transatlantic slave trade, right? Because we want to see exactly from Africa. If we go to all enslaved, it's going to get real deep. I'm going to save that for another video. We want to go filter by itinerary. First thing you want to check, place of embarkation. Where did they board? Okay, they boarded in Africa. Right now, from that 90,000, that dropped straight to 75,000. We got 75,000 people now that was boarded in Africa. We want to put now where were they dropped off. So let's just check the Snapple facts. When we go and click mainland North America, that 75,000 instantly drops to 23 people. This is from mainland Africa. Not the little islands where they were enslaving a lot of the black Jews from Europe, black Christians, the Moors in Europe and whatnot. You know, during the persecution of those people, you got 23 people going to places like Charleston, right? The quote unquote biggest, one of the biggest on the East Coast hubs, ports for slaves. Right, but only 23 people from Africa? That's interesting. But I thought it was hundreds and thousands and whatnot. The numbers y'all gave us, you know, these things, it's not adding up. It's not making sense. It's not correlating. The mathematics is not mathematicking. Like OG said. How many ships you think you would need to bring over all them people? The numbers never made sense and they won't make sense. Not never. Not never. Here, we got fact right here. It's fact. So now what we want to do. Let's reset everything. Since we can't identify Native Americans from the true Aboriginals because there's such a huge difference in how people look now, we want to identify what happened to the black people that Hernando de Soto and William Penn and John Smith. What happened to these copper-colored, tawny, mulatto, dark skin, dark like the Ethiopians, right? What happened to them people? Right? And what was the true trade, the slave trade here in North America, if there was one in general at all? Right? We're going to check this in reverse. Right? And it's crazy because the fact check I got, another lady on TikTok who did the same thing. She got some information that was different for what I'm trying to pull up. It goes to show they continue to change and alter these things on a regular, right? Just so that people don't start becoming smart out of nowhere and figuring out what was going on. All right, so first thing we want to see is we know, or what we got to understand is that there was no ship passage to take folks from North America directly to Africa. They were bringing Aboriginals, enslaving Aboriginals here in America and shipping them off to Europe and to the West Indies. There's a hidden destination beyond all of this, though. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it because it adds a twist to the African origins of the transatlantic slave trade. Does it add up? So now we want to see. So being that it was only 23 coming into North America, what was happening here that caused such a great population of slaves? Now, we know that there was divide and conquer tactics being used to divide up the Aboriginal people here, the tribes, them, make them fight each other so that the losers could become POWs and enslaved by the colonizers and used for not even the benefit of the people, the benefit of the white man. Or we're going to just say colonizers and enslavers because they weren't all white. All right, we're going to stop flowing with that because that don't ever make sense either. Right? They were all colors of slave owners. They were all colors, right? So we put place of embarkation is North America. So for most of these slaves here, they were being embarked in Florida and disembarked in New Orleans. All right, this is interesting because they were being captured in Florida. We know there was a lot of wars with the tribes them going on in Florida, right? There was a lot going on in the American South. But if you just look over here to the right, the captive fate, these folks are being settled in Sierra Leone. So why do you have Aborigines or people being picked up in Florida and settled in New Orleans? I mean, dropped off in New Orleans and then settled in Sierra Leone. How were they getting to Sierra Leone in the first place? And this wasn't just for just one or 23, right? The quote unquote 23 Africans that were coming into the Americas. This was for 15,000 different people. 15,000 different people. 15,000 different people. Now let's look at this, right? Remember, I said the National Archives are going to give you the facts. They even got the manifest, the ship manifest of slaves. And right here in the bottom hand corner, it says District and Port of St. Mark's, day of, can't read the script, of slave name particularly described in the above manifest. Master of, do solemnly, sincerely, and truly according to the best of our knowledge and belief that the persons above described were not imported into the United States since the first day of January 1808. They were not imported into the United States. That 23 people that they keep saying, I keep saying they freaking took from Africa and brought in, that don't count into this population. All of these people lived here. Now we got to think, 1843, St. Mark's, Florida. What was happening? 1830 to 1850, the Trail of Tears, collectively referred to as the excuse me, you're not even going to read that. That's that whitewash. What was the Trail of Tears? Forced relocation during the 1830s of Eastern Woodlands Indians of the southeast region of the United States, including Cherokee, Creek, Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Seminole, among other nations, to Indian Territory west of the Mississippi River. Estimates based on tribal and military records suggest approximately 100,000 indigenous people were forced from their homes during that period, which is sometimes known as the removal era, and that some 15,000 died during the journey west. Is that same 15,000 the same 15,000 that they sent over to Sierra Leone? Make it make sense. They've been wild. Look, all of this is during the 1800s. Some prior. This was during the Trail of Tears. So all of these people, oh helle belly, you telling me that's not an Indian? Resettled in Sierra Leone. They not even from there. Okunui. They're not even from there. Bring my people home. Oh man, there's so many people over there that are not, they're so distant from their homeland. They think they're African. Swahilan. Come back, baby. This is crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, like, when you really be doing the research, like, it starts to dawn on you. Look, this one, son right here, Uni, was apprenticed. He was apprenticed. Same thing that was happening to a lot of them that were being sent to Europe. What happened? They brought Pocahontas to Europe. Many other tribes went to Europe. They sailed there themselves and were taught the French language and the different languages of them people, being made into fine Frenchmen. We got 15,000 people coming from they disembarking, being picked up in Florida, being disembarked in New Orleans. The journey west. Some 15,000 died during the journey west. Oh yeah? Oh yeah? They died? Or did you just settle all of them in Sierra Leone? Did you just settle them in Sierra Leone? You telling us they died? They died. So after all of this, what happens? Now you bringing in them Filipinos and all of them, Asian slaves and all of these people in colonial Mexico and in Texas and California, Florida. These people are now replacing the general population. Come on, we can't deny this stuff no more. I got more drop. Check this. So this comes from the book Indian Races of North and South America. We covered a lot in this book. We learned a lot in this book, and there's more that I'm going to bring to the channel via live stream. Right? We're going to bring them back real soon. But in this chapter, they make mention of this slave trade to the West Indies, right? And they talking specifically about the Chickasaws, Choctaws, Natchez, the folks in Alabama, Mississippi, Memphis, Georgia, Florida. Right, and check this, right? We're gonna go to page 438. 438. And we're gonna start at the top, very first paragraph. Listen, we're gonna break this down. It says, the Chickasaws were not slow to foment a disturbance upon intelligence of this proceeding, and sent messengers with presents of pipes and tobacco to counsel an attack upon the exercises of such tyranny. Nothing so strongly excites an Indian indignation as an attempt at taxation, and the Natchez were easily persuaded that the French had resolved to crush and enslave them. Right, it was a lot of back and forth going on, because what these European colonizers was doing was turning these people against them, using them to achieve their own success and fuel their own greed, right, for their own benefit. Oftentimes, they'll incite wars amongst these people. They didn't have enough soldiers to fight. They'll enlist some of the tribes because they got more than enough warriors, send them into battle, make them kill each other, and then once the losers now become slaves, but not to the tribes, to the colonizers, because the tribes become slaves too. Check it though. Nothing so strongly excites. We passed that. It took a year to ripen the plot, as the Indians are slow in their counsels of great things of importance, though equally close in intent. Right? They plotted on them. They was plotting, these Frenchmen. It was in the month of November 1729 that the Indians fell upon the French settlement. The commandant had received some intimation about the intended attack from a woman of the tribe, but did not place sufficient dependence upon it to take any efficient steps for the protection of his charge. The whole colony was massacred, men, women, and children, to the number of over 700. Adair says 1,500 perished by the weapons of the savages. The triumph of the Natchez was, however, of but short duration. The French came upon them in the following summer with a large army consisting of 2,000 of their own soldiers and a great array of their Choctaw allies. They had 2,000 of their peoples, which is probably also a fabricated number, and a great array of Choctaws. Way more Choctaws than 2,000 of their soldiers. The Natchez were posted at a strong fort near a lake communicating with the Bayou de Argent, and received the assailants with great resolution and courage. They made a vigorous sally as the enemy approached, but were driven within their defenses and bombarded with 3 mortars, which forced them to fly off different ways. The Choctaws took many prisoners, some of whom were tortured to death, and the rest shipped to the West Indies as slaves. Now, who you think was doing the torturing and the enslaving? We got to think about it. They was just siding with the French. This is not an Indian custom. This is not how they get down. Right? Their form of slavery was to get you to come work for them, become a part of the family. You are now adopted into our tribe. You are one more member added to our nation. Very, very different from chattel slavery. Very, very, very different. So we see here, even in the 1700s, the majority of this slavery that was popping in North America was between us and the Caribbean islands. Going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We made mention of this several times before. It happened with the Lenape, the Delaware. It happened with over there in New York. It happened in South Carolina. It happened in Long Island. Bro, Long Island, New York, you know, same stuff. You know what I mean? Where all the ports are at on the east, it was happening. They were bringing folks from here to the West Indies, and then from the West Indies to Europe, or from North America to Europe. And now we know from West Indies to Africa. From New Orleans to Africa. You know how many colored people black like the Ethiopians, are a part of this number, this 15,000. Man, it's crazy, man. But like I said, my way of fact checking this is actually a lady up here on TikTok who actually made the same video. And if you guys want to check out the video and not only hear it from my perception, but you could go and check this video out. She gave the drop. 12 million Africans did not come to the Americas. That did not happen. They did not come to the Americas. The slave trade was told in reverse. It was people going out, not coming in. And a lot of these people, American Indians. I rest my case, y'all. I hope this one was very educational for you folks. I mean, that's all I aspire to do each and every time, is educate and put people on. This should be a well-known fact and message now. Like, it should be no more sugarcoating the truth, no more running away from the truth. It is what it is, man. This is to get people to actually be more proud of America. Be proud to be American. Be proud to live here. Be proud to embrace the freedom that you do have. Don't fall in line with the people who want to play victim all day and play the victim game and run away from the truth. Because the more disconnected they become, the more out of tune with reality they start to be. Right? The more connected you become, the more it is understandable to accept of reality here in America. Right? We all know this stuff that be happening is wrong. We all know that, yes, there is some forms of racism that exist. But how would you feel if you knew that a lot of this stuff didn't even stem from color? Black on black crime been a thing. White on white crime been a thing. White on black crime and black on white crime been a thing. Black people sat in the same high seats as white people. It ain't about that no more. It's about the blood, the bloodline. Who do you come from? Where do you come from? Because that story within itself is greater than anything that these historians and teachers will ever teach you. And I put that on everything. Rest my case, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. I love y'all. And until next time, let's get it.